بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا وحبيبنا مولانا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وعلى آله وأصحابه بارك وسلم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Can I just make sure that everybody can hear me? Inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Yes, we can.
Okay, shukran. So let's all start with the dua together. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Subhanaka la ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana. Allahumma 'allimna ma yanfa'una wa zidna 'ilma ya muqallibal qulub thabbit qulubana 'ala dinik. Alhamdulillah, welcome back to your Mizan class on Sundays, inshallah. A friend of mine, Mon Abdullah, this morning asked me, where's a good place to buy kusisters in Weinberg? And I told him I haven't had a kusister on a Sunday in a long time because we're always busy with Mizan classes. And Alhamdulillah, normally Brother Khalid brings the kusisters to Mizan. So Alhamdulillah, maybe you're having kusisters in bed or at your desk in class, inshallah. One of the benefits of being at home. Alhamdulillah. Okay, Bismillah. So let's quickly go straight into Nahwu. This table you should have memorized already. So I'm going to ask you a few questions about this table. So the first two elements here are the two jumlas, the jumlatul fi'liya and the jumlatul ismiya. So if someone had to ask you, what is a jumlatul fi'liya, and then I want you to answer each one by saying what are the different elements of it, or what are the different components, and how do we recognize it? Like, how do we know it's there? So if someone had to ask you, what is the jumlatul fi'liya? What would be the different elements, and how would you know, how do you recognize it? Who wants to go?
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam wa
I can
rahmatullahi
give it a try, inshallah.
Yes,
So
bismillah.
jumlatu fi'liya would be a sentence with a verb in it, and it has a fa'il, which is your doer, and a maf'ulun bihi, which is your done upon. And you'll know
Okay,
the
so
fa'il
basically you said
is...
that the jumlatul fi'liya has three parts. There's a verb, a fa'il, and a maf'ulun bihi. Okay, good.
Yes.
And then how would you recognize the different parts?
So the fa'il you would know from from doing sarf. So you'd be able to recognize, you'd have to check if it's like a past past or present verb just by looking at the construction of it. And then
Okay, good.
with the maf'ulun bihi, you'd use
So, okay, so,
the...
so you spoke about the fi'l first. So the fi'l you can recognize past, present. How do you
Yes.
know where the fa'il is?
So with the fa'il, you're gonna look either to the left. You're gonna check to see if it's inside on the left, or so you'd either be able to see from the construction of the verb by the end letter of it, or you'd be able to see because of somebody in the sentence that's raf'un, or something in the sentence that's raf'un. I forget the other one now.
That one's inside. We call it implied. Okay, good.
Okay.
Okay, so the fa'il you always find in left or inside, and it's always raf'un. Okay, good. So how do you recognize the maf'ulun bihi?
Can somebody else have a go? Map, I'm like blanking now.
In nasab ending. There's a nasab ending. So the end of the verb, it's attached to the verb at the end of the verb. If it's on the left of the verb, the fa'il will be in rafa, rafun. If it's inside the verb, the fa'il will not be visible and will be implied. For example, if it is huwa, then the ending will just be hu. Is that right?
Can I check if you're able to hear me? I think I lost you guys there for a moment. I think you should be able to hear me now.
Yes, Maulana, we can hear you now.
Okay, Bismillah. I'm not sure what happened there. Okay, so I lost you guys for a moment, but we're back now, alhamdulillah, and hopefully you're able to hear me again. So Bismillah. So just to summarize again, the Jumlatul Fi'liya, the first one there has a fi'l, a verb, a fa'il, maf'ulun bihi, and a maf'ulun bihi. Those are the three parts. How do I recognize them? The verb I recognize from asar scales like nasara, nasaru, and so on. The fa'il, the doer, will either be at the end of the verb, it will be to the left of the verb, or it would be implied inside the verb, and then fa'il will always be in raf'un, and you can see the raf'un if it's on the left. And then al-walada, the maf'ul bihi is always the done upon, who the verb was done, who the action was done to, and that will always be in nasbun. Al-jumlatul ismiya, again the same question. What what are the two parts, and how do they relate, and how do I recognize them? So Bismillah. What are the two parts of Jumlatul Ismiya? Okay, we have Z. Bismillah.
Trial.
I don't
Trial.
think... Okay, that's not working. Who else wants to go?
Trial.
What is going on? Who is user?
Someone's hacking us, Maulana.
Who is asking us? Maybe they want to learn some Arabic or something. Okay, so Bismillah, who wants to go? Jumatul Ismiya, who wants to go?
I can try.
Bismillah.
So Jumlatul Ismiya, yes.
Go for it.
Okay. So Jumlatul Ismiya is a noun-based sentence. So this has two parts. The one is the mubtada and one is the khabar. The mubtada is like basically the thing that's like the focus or the thing that's been described in the sentence, and the khabar is what can I say, information about what is being talked about. So they're both always in a raf. And the mubtada is always a ism.
Okay, good. And just speak about the definiteness.
Maaf, Maulana?
Just
They must
speak about
both be
how
definite.
do I recognize them? So you said they're both in raf'un, but
Yes.
there's something else about them, something to
Must
do
be-
with definiteness.
Oh, the mubtada must be definite.
Okay,
They
and the
must
khabar?
agree in gender, ending, number, and definiteness.
So that agreement is for sifa mawsuf. So
Yes.
Jumatul Ismiya, it's different.
I think the mubtada and the khabar, they agree in number. So they'll agree in if they'll either both be plural or they'll both be, oh, and they agree in gender as well. But I don't think they
Okay, so
agree in
okay,
full.
so they'll generally agree in number and gender, but there's something about the definiteness I want you to mention. Like, is the mubtada generally definite or indefinite?
The mubtada is
Mhm.
generally definite.
Okay, and the khabar?
Not always.
The khabar won't be definite now.
Okay, so generally speaking, especially in our first year, we're going to just basically recognize it as the mubtada is normally definite and the khabar is normally indefinite. There are some exceptions later on or next day, inshallah. But for now, that is a good summary that Jumlatul Ismiya, two parts, mubtada, khabar. Mubtada is the focus, rajulu, the focus, khabar, tawilun, information, news, and what you put in between is or are, which is also important to remember. Something is something, and the mubtada is normally definite, and the khabar is normally indefinite. That's in contrast to the next one, which is sifa and mawsuf. Who wants to explain sifa and mawsuf? What are the parts, and how do you recognize them? Sister Wasima, bismillah.
The
Trial.
two words. The second word must describe the first word. The hal must always match, and both words must agree in gen, so everything.
Okay, and what do we call the two words? What's the labels for them?
Mosuf and sifa. The first one is the mosuf, and the second one, the one describing the first word, is the sifa.
Okay, good. So these are two words. They are, the first word is called the mawsuf, is that which is being described, and sifa is the describing word or the adjective. So the second word describes the first word, and they generally match in gend. The second word follows the gend of the first word. There is one exception, and when's the exception?
I can't remember the exception.
The exception is anybody?
Assalamu alaikum, Maulana. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes, yes.
The exception is when it's a non-human, like an animate object. I think not inanimate, but like a non-human object. So then it will be the sifa will not be plural and it will be feminine. Am I correct?
Good, it will be single feminine. So if it's a non-human, inanimate is fine as well. Inanimate or animate, a non-human, then the sifa will be single feminine. Okay, good. Next one, harful jar and ismul majrur. Sister Dilshad, do you want to go?
No,
What are the two parts first of all?
the two parts would be your harf and the ismur majrur. Your
Okay.
harf is just a particle which doesn't form a sentence. It needs other words to make it into a sentence. And the harf will automatically put the next word into jar.
Okay, good. So it's a harful jar and an ism majrur. The harful jar makes the next word jar, and the next word is called
Jar.
ism majrur. Can you give me some more examples of a harful jar?
Fi baiti.
No, just of the
or
harful jar.
just the harful jar.
So we have fi. What else do we have? Bitawalika. Good. What else?
بتولك في عالم إلى عن حتى.
Okay, mashallah, good. So those are all the ones that you have to memorize. So those are the huruful jar, and it's followed by an ismul majroor. Okay, good. And the last one we come to, we're gonna ask someone new to do it, inshallah. So, what is the next one? Mudaf and mudaf ilayhi wants to go. You can just unmute and Bismillah if you want to go. All you must do is say the two parts and then Bismillah. How do we recognize? Okay. I think user, I'm not sure if you're like a real user, but your video keeps saying trial. But we'll just leave it in the room for now, just in case you're having issues. Okay, Bismillah. So who wants to go? Okay, I don't know who user is, but you're going to have to keep your mic on mute. Otherwise, we're going to have to remove you from the room, inshallah.
User did post in the group, in the chat.
Sorry, what do you
They're
say?
using another user posted in the chat. They're using another laptop.
Okay, user,
They're
you
having some issues.
rather just keep your mic on mute, inshallah. Okay, so Bismillah, who wants to go?
Trial. The mudaf and mudaf ilayh, the fragment contains something that is possessed.
This is we're going to give someone a new chance, inshallah.
Yes, please.
Okay, Bismillah. Who wants to go? Okay, user, I'm going to have to kick you from the room, inshallah. Not kick you, but just ask you to remove you from the room because your laptop keeps saying trial, which is like weird. Okay, Bismillah, who wants to go?
Maulana, can you hear me?
Yes, Bismillah.
So for mudafun ilayh, there's two parts. The first part is the mudaf, the thing which is attributed, and the mudafun ilayh, the thing that is being attributed to. The mudaf is typically light, which means doesn't have an al or a tanween, and there's a implied al at the beginning, and the mudafun ilayh is always in jar and has an implied of in between the two of the words.
Okay, perfect, mashallah. So 2 words, light followed by jar. The first word is called mudaf, the second one is called mudaf ilayh. When I have light and I have jar, I add the and I have of, and those are the 2 parts. Okay, good. So now we're going to do not the same thing, we look at the same table, but now we're going to look at the dhamir there. So we have the detached pronoun, and I'll just say the list once for you to remember. Detached huwa, hum, hiya, hunna, anta, antum, anti, antunna, ana, nahnu, huwa, he, hum, them, hiya, she, hunna, them females, anta, you one male, antum, you many males, anti, you one female, antunna, you many females, ana, I, nahnu, we. So those are all the detached pronouns. Then we have an attached pronoun. In other words, it's attached to a word like who, whom, ha, hunna, ka, kum, ki, kunna, I, na. So if I had to ask you to attach a pronoun, so instead of saying nasara al-rajulu al-walada, which means the man helped the boy, how would I say the man helped him? How would I say the man helped him? Using the attached pronoun.
Assalamualaikum. If I can try,
Yes,
I think so maybe say Nasara ar-rajuluhu.
Okay, but then what would the who be attached to?
To ar-rajulu. I don't know if I'm correct here. Just try.
Okay, good. So it's a good try. Nasara ar-rajuluhu. Who else wants to try?
Nasaru.
So it will be Nasara, but how do I attach the pronoun? Okay, I'll give you an easier one.
Who?
Okay, so it becomes what?
Nasaru. Nasaru. Nasaru.
Okay, I'll give you guys an easy question to help you, inshallah. Nasara means he helped. Nasara means he helped. How do I say he helped him? Nasara on its own. Good. So Nasara on its own means he helped. So he helped him. I heard the answer was good. Nasara who? Nasarahu. Now, how do I say the man helped him?
Nasarahu rajulu.
Okay, good. That was Nasar. So you can see the in blue here. Nasarahu al-walada. So Nasara means he helped.
Oh,
Al-walad. Oh, there's a mistake here. This should be,
Putting
let me just
Yawun
fix it
now.
quickly. There's a mistake here. It should be ar-rajulu. Okay. Okay, so back to the sentence again. So we're looking at the first word, al-jumlatul fi'liya. Nasara ar-rajulu al-walada means the man helped the boy. Now I don't want to say the man helped the boy, I want to say the man helped him. So we still keep the nasara ar-rajulu because nasara ar-rajulu means the man helped. But if I add the him, I have to add the him to the nasara. So nasarahu helped him ar-rajulu, the man. Helped him, the man. How do I say the man helped them, many males or mixed group?
Nasarahum
And then the man helped.
ar-rajulu.
Good. How do I say the man helped her?
Nasaraha ar-rajulu.
Good. How do I say the man helped us?
Nasara. That will be na ar-rajulu.
Good. Nasarana ar-rajulu. How do I say he helped you, one male?
Yeah, you.
Nasara. How do I say he helped you, one male?
Nasaraka.
Nasaraka. Good. So what I want you to focus on here is that we can attach any of these attached pronouns to a verb sentence, and then it will take the role of what? The fa'il or the maf'ulun bihi? If I say nasarahu,
Maf'ulun
nasaraha,
bihi.
nasarahu, the maf'ulun bihi. It's a maf'ulun bihi. Now I want you to take a attached pronoun and attach it to a harful jar. So example, we have fil bayti, we have in the house. How do I say in it? In it.
Is it female or fee?
A bayt is a male word. So it will be what?
Baytuhi.
So fil bayt will be what?
Fihi.
So we make it fihi. Fihu is a right word, but we make it he to make it sound more smooth. So fihi will mean in it. How do I say in them? For a group of males or mixed group. Fi?
Him.
Okay, Fihum is right in terms of applying it, but I'll change the whom to make it smooth, flow better. So I'll say fi instead of fihum. I'll say what?
Him.
Fihim. I'll say fihim. Good. How do I say in us? Na. So again, the attached pronoun there in that one there. What is the attached pronoun there? What's the label on top of it?
On top of
The attached pronoun. What's the label? Like if I have fi him, he is a harful jar. What's the him?
Maf'ulun bih.
Remember, maf'ul bih only for the jumlatul fi'liya. What does the harful jar make the next word? Good, ismul majroor. The harful jar makes the next word jar. The harful jar makes the next word jar. So whenever it's attached to a harful jar, it becomes the ismul majroor. So if it's fi him, the him is ismul majroor. If it's fi he, the he is ismul majroor. If it's fi na, the na is ismul majroor. Next one. Baytu rajuli means the man's house or the house of the man. How do I make it his house? Instead of saying the house of the man, I have to say the house of him. Becomes what? It becomes good. It becomes Baytuhu. Baytuhu. How do I say it's their house for a mixed group?
Baytuhum.
Baytuhum. Good. How do I say it's your one female house? The house of you, one female.
Baytuki.
Baytuki. Good. How do I say it's our house?
Baytuna.
Baytuna. How do I say it's my house?
Bayti.
Bayti. Okay. So that's the third occurrence. So the third occurrence is that we have, can you see it's all who, he and who, it's the same attached pronoun, but here it's attached to an ism. And when it's attached to an ism, it's always going to be mudafun ilay. So what I want you to take out from this is that we have attached pronoun. In the first one, here, let me just maybe highlight it for you. In the first one, we attached it to a verb. Attach it to a verb, and there it will always be a mudafun ilay. In the second one, we attach it to a harful jar, and in that case, it will always be the ism majroor. And in the third one, we attached it to a ism, and therefore it will be mudaf ilay. So the first one is verb, second one is harf, and the third one is an ism. So we have the same who, he, which is the same, and who, all three the same, attached to a verb, attached to a harf, and attached to an ism. If it's attached to a verb, it's always maf'ulun bihi. If it's attached to an ism or a harf here, it will always be harful jar, because after ism harful jar, sorry, it will always be ismul majroor, because after harful jar comes ismul majroor. And if it's attached to a ism, it will be mudafun ilay. Okay, good. Now I want you to open your workbooks, inshallah. And then we're going to go through some of your homework and start your new exercise, inshallah. I think it's 7 point something. Okay, so let me open your workbook here. So here we are on, your homework was 7.3. So let's just mark a few, inshallah. This is your homework. I think I am correct, eh? Your homework was 7.3. Your homework was 7.3. So let's just do a few of these, inshallah. So bismillah. Let's go to number 6. ثقلت موازينه. ثقلت موازينه. So first of all, you can give me translation, and then you can try to help me with the labels. So bismillah. What's happening there?
Maulana, I got his scale was heavy.
Okay, good. So you got, so thaqulat means became heavy. Past tense verb to mean it became heavy. So mawazin, what's the translation of mawazin?
Scales.
Scale. So what's mawazinuhu?
His scales.
Okay, so his scales, and then thaqulat became heavy. So his scales became heavy is the translation. And then what are the parts of that sentence?
There's a fa'il.
What is thaqulat? Okay, good. Now where's the fa'il?
Thaqulat.
Okay, just try it again, because thaqulat means to become heavy or became heavy. So it's like fa'alat.
Mark, did you ask what is the fa'il?
Yeah, so you can just give me the parts. So where's what is thaqulat?
Sifa.
What is thaqulat? What is that? Okay, let me ask you either question. Is it ism, fi'l, or harf?
Ism.
Fi'il.
Thaqulat.
It's a verb.
It's a verb. Good. What type of
It's a
verb?
fi'il. Past tense.
What type of verb? A past tense verb. A past tense verb. Just a reminder, if you're not answering, just to please keep on mute, inshallah. So if you're not busy answering, just to keep on mute, inshallah. So, thaqulat is a past tense verb. When I have a verb, what must I look for?
The doer.
The doer. So where's the doer?
So it's not the ta at the end of sakulat.
Okay, good, because the ta at the end just makes the verb feminine. So that's good.
Yeah. So it's the hu at the end of mawazinu.
Okay, so let me ask you, in terms of meaning, what is becoming heavy? Is he becoming heavy, or is the scales becoming heavy?
The scales.
The scales. So remember, we look at the end, we don't see the doer there. We look to the left, we see mawazinu hu. So which of the mawazinu is actually two words. Mawazin means scales and hu means him, scales of him. So which of those two is actually becoming heavy?
The scales.
The scale. So the fa'il here will be the mawazinu part. Why? Because that mawazinu can see the nu, it's in raf'un. Mawazina.
Yes.
So that is going to be the fa'il. Now here's a tricky one. What is the hu? Good. So the hu is going to be the mudafun ilayhi. Why is that? Because whenever we have a attached pronoun to an ism, it's always mudafun ilayhi. So what became heavy? The scales of him. You with me? Or his scales. The scales of him or his scales became heavy. Good. Let's start the next one. And these are not easy ones, so don't stress about it. These are not easy ones, but you have to do the homework and kind of get a bit of it, and then you get some more in class again, inshallah. So next one. تَعْرِفُ فِي وُجُوهِهِمْ نَضْرَةَ النَّعِيمِ. Lots of things going there. Long sentence. Who wants to go?
I got you raised in his face the splendor of the bliss.
Okay, so let's go through word by word. What's the meaning of ta'arifu?
Raised.
Raised. So ta'arifu. Do you look up? I think we have a translation sheet here. What do I have in this? So arafa ya'rifu means to know. Arafa ya'rifu, number 29 in the vocab sheet, means to know, also to recognize. Okay, so let's leave raised for now. Let's just say he recognize. So what does the meaning of ta'arifu then?
You recognize.
Okay, you recognize. What do you carry on? What's fi wujuhim?
Is in.
Yeah.
And then wujuhim is a face.
Wajh is the face, yes. What's wujuh? Wujuh is faces.
Faces, okay.
Wujuhihim.
His faces.
So just think about wujuh. What's the difference between wujuhihi and wujuhihim? Okay, I'll give it an easy one. What's the meaning of baytihi?
So his house.
His house. And baytihim?
Their house.
Their house. Good. And then wujuhihim.
Their faces.
Good. So you recognize in their faces. What do you recognize in their faces?
Nadratan.
Nadratan na'im. Good.
Yeah.
What is nadra?
Splendor, I think.
Splendor or brightness,
Yeah.
radiance. What's na'im?
Bliss.
Bliss.
I
So
think
how
I
do
wanted to say.
how do translate nadratan na'im? I'll give you a clue.
Splendor of the bliss.
Nadrata is light and na'im is jar. So I'll give you a clue there. Nadrata is light and na'imi is jar.
So it's mudaf ilayh.
Okay, good. So I'll add what?
Of.
Of, and also before nadra, what will I add? The. Okay, good. So carry on. So you recognize in their faces the what?
Splendor of the blood, or splendor of the bliss. Yeah.
Okay. Okay,
Or
I'll use
radiance
radiance now.
of.
Radiance
of the bliss.
The bliss, and the bliss is referring to Jannah, basically. Okay, good. So there we have, it's a nice tough sentence, but it's a good sentence. Ta'rifu, you recognize. Allah is speaking about people who are going to be in paradise. Nadrata, you recognize, you see, you know, you come to know, you recognize. Fi hujuhihim, in their faces. What do you recognize in their faces? Nadra, the radiance of an-na'im, of the bliss, of the delight, of the bliss. So Allah is telling you, if you look at the people of paradise, you will see in their faces that radiance of paradise. Good. So that's the translation. Now let's go to the. I know the labels are tough. Yes, Bismillah.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Ta'rifu, that's the one that can be double meaning, eh? On the
Yes. So
scales.
ta'rifu could also
Is
mean
this
she recognizes, or could mean you recognize. But in
any
this
sign to
context,
tell us, or is it just context?
the context, yeah. Nothing else but context.
Shukran.
Okay, so let's go through it. Who wants to do the word for word analysis? You don't have to know it perfectly to do it. You must just try, inshallah. And there's no shyness. It's good to try. Everybody's trying.
I'll try, Maulana.
Bismillah, bro. Tawfiq, Bismillah.
So the first one is a present tense verb. So it's
Okay, so it's a present tense verb. Afil mudari. When I have a verb, what must I find?
So we know from the word list that I think arafa, they said, oh, ya'rifu. So
okay, and when I have a verb, what do I have to look for immediately?
Oh, we must look for the fa'il and the maf'ulun bi.
Okay, so let's do the fa'il first. We look for the fa'il. Where's the fa'il? What is the fa'il? Okay, where must we look?
Either the end or to the left. And in this case, it's the fa'il is you.
And where's the you?
Light.
There's a fa'il, which is the you inside, right? There's a you inside there. Well, what's you in Arabic? What's you in Arabic?
Ka. Or
Huwa, hum, hiya, hunna.
Ka.
Anta. So ka is also you. Ka is the attached one, and the detached one is anta. Okay, good. So there's a anta. There's a you, anta inside there. So ta'arifu mean you recognize, you know. What's the fi?
It's ismul majrur. No, harful jar.
So the fi is a harful jar. Good. So
Then,
what's the next one? What's the wujuhi?
Ismul majrur.
Good. The wujuhi is going to be the ismul majrur. Wujuhi. What about the him? So after harful jar, that's why it's wujuhi. It's not wujuha or wujuhu. It's wujuhi. So it's going to be the ism al-majrur. What's next? What's the him?
Let's say
Wujuhi.
maf'ulun bihi.
The him. Remember we said the attached pronoun to an ism is always what?
Oh yes.
Their faces or the faces of them. It's a
Mudaf. I'm gonna go on a limb here. Mudaf ilayhi.
mudafun ilay. Good. So basically, whenever we have, and just think about the meaning. Wujuhi him means their faces or the faces of them. You with me? So therefore, wujuh is also light followed by jar, and also wujuh is also the mudafun. Good. What's the nadrata? Probably the most difficult thing.
We translate it as the splendor, but because it's light, that has to be mudaf.
Okay, it's mudaf, but let me ask another question. Why is it nasb?
Because it's the is it also the maf'ulun bihi?
Good, good. That's a tricky one, but it's a maf'ulun. Because what do you recognize? You recognize this here. You recognize nadra. So nadra is the maf'ulun bihi. And you said it's also mudaf because it's light. It's also going to be a.
That one I didn't.
No, you're right. You're right. No, you're actually right. Your confusion was right. So it is mudaf and maf'ul. So you're on the right track because it's light followed by. So it's nas because it's maf'ulun bihi, and it's mudaf because it's light followed by jar. So therefore, what is na'im?
Has to be mudaf ilay.
Mudafun ilay. Okay, well done, mashallah.
It's a tough one.
It's a tough one. So what I'm saying is like, mashallah, maybe you're sitting there and finding this tough, and you think, oh, I don't know what's going on here. But it's supposed to be a little bit tough because now you're just getting into, you're just applying everything you learned in one sentence now. So you're applying jumlatul fi'liya, fi'l fa'il maf'ulun bihi. You're applying harful jar ism majroor. You're applying mudafun and mudafun ilay. You're applying attached pronoun. All of that comes together in one sentence. Now you won't necessarily, when you start doing more and more Arabic, you won't necessarily need to do it that thoroughly to understand it. In other words, the understanding the rule almost becomes like second nature. So it's almost like when you're driving a car. At first, you're very conscious about first gear, second gear, third gear, and I must go back into neutral when I stop. You're very conscious about it. Sometimes you're even looking at the gears instead of the road, and you're freaking out the passengers. But then after a while, when you're driving, you're still doing first gear, second gear, third gear, neutral, all those things, but you're not consciously doing it anymore. So what I'm saying is now we're applying the gears manually and deliberately, and then after a while you won't do it anymore because it'll just be automatic. You just know fi wujuhi means in their faces, without having to say fi harful jar and wujuh ism majroor him mudafun ilay. It just comes naturally. So this is like the part where you have to work a bit. You work a bit, but after you don't actually need the labels as such. In fact, most native Arab speakers wouldn't be able to do that. Like most, which is a strange thing, but if you ask most native Arab speakers who haven't really attained university education, and you tell them to put the label on ta'rifu fi wujuhim nadratan na'im, they probably wouldn't be able to do that. Because for them, the rules are already built in. Okay, Sister Leila, do you want to say something? Or do you want to go next? Or not? What happens is if I see your mic unmute, I just ask you if you want to speak. Okay, Bismillah.
Well, can I just ask something referring to this one we just did now? I might be going a bit backwards here, but to find out that the file is inside there, right? So in this case it's a full sentence. I remember Mariana saying something about when there's a wa in the sentence. It could mean that it's like almost like a comma or a pause. So how would you know when to stop looking for that? Would you go, you look for the file, look at the first word, the second word. Is there like an indicator, or must you go through the whole sentence to find the file?
Okay,
I
okay.
hope I'm making sense.
No, it makes sense. Like how far do you look? Do you look like the whole page down? You look like 2 or 3 words.
Yes.
So that's a good question. I don't have a straight answer for, or a direct answer for you, but basically, let me just pull up this verse quickly. What is this? 83:24. 83:24. But a lot of it depends on context. So actually, this here rather 83:24. So that's 83. Let's go from 22 rather, so we can just see the rest of the verses. So if we let me just close Chrome, and then if we put up the verses here, oops, sorry. If you pull up the, why am I, okay. Let me just continue. So for example, so to answer your question, basically the context is going to help you. So for example, if you were reading the sentence, you would read here, Innal abrara lafi na'im. Innal abrar, verily the righteous, the pious, lafi na'im, they're definitely fi na'im, they're definitely in bliss, in pleasure. Ala al-ara'iki yanzurun, ala, you know all these things, ala is harful jar, al-ara'ik is going to be the couches. Ala al-ara'iki yanzurun, they are, nadara yanzuru means to look, they're looking around, they're observing. Then it says, تعرف في وجوههم نضرة النعيم, you recognize in their faces the radiance of the pleasure or the bliss. يسقون من رحيق مختوم. I can see the sentence now carries on about them, and they are given a drink from a wine which is sealed. The sentence carries on. So in other words, from this context we can see Allah is speaking about them, then Allah speaks about ta'rifu you, and then Allah speaks about them again later on. So to answer your question, and the full question to answer is that you'll know from the context, like you'd know like the next verse is like something new. So we're not going to find the fa'il there. So the fa'il must be found in this verse somewhere, and I don't find it here, so it must be inside. So it's largely to do with context. Okay. Okay, good.
Maulana, I didn't hear that fully, but some of the examples was very hard to label. And then I was looking at the translation on Quran.com, and then I couldn't even label it from the translation because it's sort of an isolated part of a verse, or it's a verse. And then, as you said, you'd find the part of the sentence in maybe the previous verse or something.
Yes. So for example, the next
I think was like 14.
Like
Yeah.
I can't tell you from this why the is in jar. You with me? So therefore, if you can't see the label here, but you can label the he here. You can label the he here. So yes, I agree with you, because we're only giving a portion of the verse. Sister Nariman, I think your thing is still saying trial. Okay, so because we're only doing a portion of the verse, it is difficult to label everything, but you label what you can. But the main things I want you to know is that if you're getting the translation right or fairly accurate on your own, that's the main objective.
Okay.
If you're getting the translation fairly accurately, that's the main objective. It will be difficult to label, but it's fine. So what's for example, wa ummihi wa abi?
Translation
Wa
is
means and what's
mother,
ummihi? And his mother. Wa abihi?
And his father.
And his father. So the only I can really label there is how do you label the he, the two he's?
Maulana, how do you know that first wa isn't a harful jar?
Oh, because I know the context.
Okay, so we must just know the context.
No, because it's unlikely that Allah is going to take an oath by someone's mother. I mean, it's possible.
Oh.
But the other wa isn't a wa of oath, like wallahi, wadduha, wa shamsi.
Yes.
You with me? So
Yes. Okay.
So the context, I wouldn't. I could have wanted to, but he doesn't in this case. But good question. So next one. So the he there. What's the he? What's the label for the he? That's actually the main one I'm looking at now.
It is maqbool bihi.
It's
Mudaf ilayh.
it's a good. It's a mudafun ilay. Why? Because it is his mother or the mother of him. And again, I'm going to repeat the rule. The rule is whenever you have attached pronoun attached to an ism, it's always mudafun ilay. What about abihi? Abihi? Same thing. That he is a mudafun ilay. Let's go through another one. Khatam Allahu. This is a bit easier one. Khatam Allahu ala qulubihim. Translation?
Malana, can I do this one?
Bismillah. Brother Irshad. Bismillah. So the Wasima, I can give you the next one, inshallah. Bismillah.
I have the translation as Allah set a seal on their hearts.
Allah set a seal or placed a seal is fine as well upon their hearts. Upon their hearts. So just give me the so that's the so in other words, if you got the translation right, alhamdulillah, Allah placed the seal, Allah set the seal upon their hearts, on their hearts, all of those are fine. So now let's go try the labels, inshallah.
So
What is khatama?
khatama will be a fi'lun madi, a past verb.
Okay, good. So I'll just put past tense verb here. Fi'l madi, good.
Okay. And
Where is the
Allahu will
doer?
be the fa'il.
Okay, so the word Allah there would be the fa'il. Good.
So we go Eli, so end left. And then
Yes.
alay will be the harful jar.
Okay, the ala there will be the
Sorry,
harful
ala.
jar. Okay,
And
the ala will
then-
be the harful jar.
Then the next word then would be qulubi, which would be the ismun majrur.
Qulubi will be the ism majroor. Good.
Then because the qulub is a light word and there's him next to that, mudafun ilay construction.
Okay, good. Because you always have a damir attached to an ism. It's always mudafun ilayhi. But Isha is getting easier with time.
It is. It took a long time, Malana, to sit and actually like rack my brain on it and looking through the notes. But alhamdulillah,
Yes.
slightly.
Slightly.
And
Okay.
yeah, I've been using the Quran corpus online to double check things and go back to verify.
Okay.
That's been
Okay, good.
Malana, I had a question about the wa, please. So, for
Yes.
example, with in line 8, the wa over there it's an and. It's not an oath. So
Yes.
if the wa is used as an and, is that not a harful jar then?
No, it's not the harful jar. So let me
Okay,
actually
so is
pull
it-
up for you. 80,
Okay.
35. Let me just just show you the context. It's easier to see. We haven't done it. We haven't done that wa. That's a wa of conjunction, which we'll do soon, inshallah. Okay. So yeah, Allah speaks about what verses? Abasa. فَإِذَا جَاءَتِ الصَّاخَّةُ. So when فَإِذَا جَاءَتِ الصَّاخَّةُ, when this the final blow comes, and then what you're going to see, يَوْمَ يَفِرُّ الْمَرْءُ مِنْ أَخِيهِ. يَوْمَ, on that day, يَفِرُّ will flee, الْمَرْءُ, the person, the man or person will flee, min, so the min is the important part, min akhihi, from his brother. Next verse, wa ummihi, and his mother, wa abihi, and his father. So what's happening is that min is a harful jar. The akhi is a ismul majroor, and that wa is following that ismul majroor. So we haven't done before, but that's why it's in jar. It's because that not because the wa is an oath or harful jar. It's a wa of conjunction, which basically joins it to the previous ismul majroor. But we haven't done it yet. We'll do it next year, inshallah.
Yeah, Jazakallah khair. Thanks, man.
Okay, barakallah. Okay, I'm going to maybe just do one more, and then I'm going to encourage those who haven't done their homework. I mean, husnul dhan, inshallah, each one of the 45 of you did your homework, inshallah. But I'll have some husnul dhan. But in case perhaps one of you didn't manage to do your homework, we're going to give you some more time to do your homework. I'm going to give you homework for the others who did their homework already. But I'm going to do the end of this one here because I think it's important for you. The importance really is for you to actually struggle through it. That's like really the learning. The learning is not listening to me and watching me doing this here. You can only learn so much by listening and watching. The real learning is you applying yourself and trying and struggling, getting things wrong, getting some things right, and going through that process. That is the real learning. So that's the only way you're going to learn the language is to work at it. So Bismillah. وَإِذَا فَرَقْنَا بِكُمُ الْبَحْرَ. Bismillah. Sister Wasima, do you want to go? I saw you the last time.
I'm going to try and go.
Bismillah. We can start the translation first, and then we can go to analysis afterwards.
Okay.
What is wa? What is wa? And what is id?
I think that's remember when.
Okay, so id on its own means when, in the past. And the remember there is just kind of like implied. Okay, but we'll discuss it some other time, inshallah. But good, okay? So in the Quran translation, they'll normally say remember when, but there's no remember in the word id means when. The remember is like implied, but we'll discuss that some other time, inshallah. Good. So id and when or and remember when. What's faraqana?
We separated.
We separated or we split. Both are fine. We separated. Bikum.
The
What's
B
bikum?
is with, but I don't know if that's because then
That's fine. With
you.
With you. Good.
The sea.
Al-Bahra. The sea. Okay, so literal translation. Again, we keep the translation literal. We don't like make it flow and stuff. We just keep it literal, so it's easier. وَإِذْ فَرَقْنَا بِكُمُ الْبَحْرَ وَإِذْ and when, or remember when فَرَقْنَا, the na refers to Allah. When we split bikum with you, and the you refers to the people of Nabi Musa and Israel. We split with you al-Bahra, the sea. So obviously, like it's like a strange thing to say. Well, what does Allah mean when you say we split the sea with you? There are many tafsir about it. The one tafsir is that it was like the means of splitting was Nabi Musa's people coming towards the ocean, and Nabi Musa putting his staff on the ocean, and then they walking through it was the means of splitting. Obviously, Allah is doing it, but it's almost like the trigger. The trigger is when they came, bikum, via you, via your arrival, via your walking through it. We split the ocean. So it's almost like the trigger of the event. In simple terms. Okay, so Wasima, we're still busy. Bismillah. You must give me all the labels.
Okay.
Okay, so leave wa'i, that's fine. What's faraqana?
The file there is the na.
Okay, so the fa'il is the na. So and the verb, whatever verb is it?
It's a past tense verb.
Okay, so I'm just copy and paste this here. So the fa'il, the verb is a past tense verb, faraqana, and the na is the fa'il, the doer, which is attached at the end. Good. So faraqana and the na refers to Allah as the royal we. We Allah, we split. Okay, someone writing on my screen. Let me just sort it out quickly. Okay. Next one. Bikum.
Okay. Then B will be harful jar.
So B is going to be a harful jar. You can see I can copy and paste on the previous one because we're having the similar elements. What's the kum?
Will that be ismul majroor?
Good. So after harful jar, always comes ismul majroor. So here we have an attached pronoun attached to a harful jar, and therefore it is ismul majroor. And what is al-bahra?
Maf'ulun bi.
Good, perfect. So bahra is going to be maf'ulun bi, because what did we split? We split al-bahra. We split the sea. Good. وَإِذْ فَرَقْنَا بِكُمُ الْبَحْرَ, and good. So Wasima, well done, mashallah. We split bikum via you al-bahra, the sea. Brother Irshad, bismillah.
Maulana, if time permits, can we please go over number 16? It had me very, very, very confused.
Okay, so I'll
Even just the
stop there and I'll
translation.
just do number 16 quickly, and then we will stop there, inshallah. So number 16, wal amru ilayki, 2733. You just see the context quickly. 2733. 27. Oops. 27. And let's go to 31 first. So we can just see what the context is. Okay. This is referring to Nabi Sulaiman and Bilqis. Okay, and then Bilqis is making mashura. She's consulting with her general. So she says. So they say, qalu. They said, nahnu ulu quwwatin. Ulu quwwatin is we are the possessors of strength, of might. Wa ulu ba'sin, also strength, might, shadidin, severe might. Wal amru.
Sheikh, which number are we doing?
We're doing number 16.
Okay.
Number 16. So we're looking at only of this one part here. Wal amru ilayki. So the only part we're looking at is this part here, even though it's part of a bigger verse. So number 16 is wal amru ilayki. So they consulting and they tell Bilqis, the leader now, that we have might and we have great strength. Wal amru ilayki and al amru means the command. Ilayki, ila means to, and ki means you, one female. Wal amru and the command. Ilayki. Fanzuri, so look. O Bilqis, look, ماذا تأمرون, what you will command. So wal amru ilayki means and the command ila is to you, one female who is Bilqis. Aisha, does that answer you?
Perfect, Maulana. Jazakallah khair. That makes a lot more
The
sense.
labels we won't worry, but the main label you must know is ila harful jar and ki ismu majrur. Wal amru actually is actually the mubtada there, but you don't have to worry about that too much.
I think what caught me off, Maulana, is the ilay, because when it's connected to the key, then it looks slightly different. So anyway, it makes sense.
Yes, good. So it's basically ila connected to a key.
Maulana, can we do number 18 as well, please?
Okay, number 18. Number 18. بَلْ رَفَعَهُ اللَّهُ إِلَيْهِ. This is referring to Nabi Isa alayhi salam. Allah speaks about his death. Allah says he wasn't crucified, bal rather. So bal means rather, instead. Rafa'a means to raise.
To raise.
So the reason the ra is a shadda there because we just bring the lam and the ra together, but you can ignore the shadda and just think of it as rafa'a. Rafa'a means raised. Rafa'ahu means raised him. Who raised him? Who raised him? Who's the doer?
So Allah is the doer.
Allah is the doer. So
how do you know for sure if that wasn't in context that Allah is the doer?
Remember the fa'il will always be in raf'un.
Raf'un.
Yes.
Okay.
So rafa'a. So we look at the end, we don't see anything there because that's not part of the scale of who. So the word Allah is the doer. So rather Allah raised him ilayhi, to him.
To him.
And that him refers to Allah.
So ilayhi becomes ismul majroor.
Yeah, ila harful jar, and the he is ism majroor. In terms of
Yes.
meaning, bal rather rafa'ahu Allahu. Allah raised him ilayhi, to him, and others to himself.
To himself. Okay.
Yes.
Shukran.
So I was speaking of Nabi Isa alayhi salam, that we believe in the ascension of Nabi Isa, that he is raised to Allah Ta'ala and that he will return to this dunya again. Okay,
Shukran.
so that's good practice. I want you to do that for homework, inshallah. I'm going to quickly give you a sarf lesson.